Ooh, this has been a lot. Hey guys, welcome back to Class with Cass, a series where I give you advice on how to get into your dream schools. My name is Cassandra Hsiao, I'm a student at Yale. Make sure you check out my last video where I reveal all of my high school stats, including my GPA, my test scores, my class ranking, etc. And now, it is the spookiest season of the year because yes, it is college application season. So, what are we going to cover in this video? First, I'm going to give you a few takeaways from my writing process in coming up with my Common App. Second, I'm going to read a never-before-seen, never-before-published essay that I submitted for many colleges as one of my supplements. Third, I'm going to break down components of that essay using the takeaways that I'll talk about in the beginning. And lastly, I'm going to give you a list of resources, links, books that I found really helpful when I was writing the college essay. When I got into all 8 Ivy League schools and every school that I applied to, my Common App essay went viral. It was absolutely insane, the reactions that I received from people, and it really did move me to tears. People reached out to me saying that they were less ashamed by their English pronunciations, immigrants felt less alone in their struggles, and people thought about their families and honored their parents' memories or reached out to reconnect with them. Readers all around the world were inspired to pursue the arts and sort of see the value of storytelling in times like these. So, how did this come about? So my first takeaway for you is don't get too hung up on the prompt. For me, would stem my creativity and I wouldn't be able to free write. I'd constantly be checking back to the question and really limiting my imagination for what this essay can be. Takeaway number 2. Your first ideas are valuable, but you need to dig deeper than that. So one of my obvious choices for my Common App essay would have been my journalism career. It is what I have devoted a lot of my high school life, a lot of time and energy to. But I gave myself the freedom to explore, to be creative, to push beyond that and not just write about my accomplishments. Now, that's not to say that I didn't talk about my journalism. I did. I used that essay in other places and other supplements where I cut it and trimmed it for different purposes. But for your Common App, don't look for the obvious, look for the unexpected. Takeaway number 3, I would say find someone you trust. So my mom was actually the one who convinced me to use this for my Common App essay. I wasn't planning on it. It just seemed like way too personal for an admissions officer to read. But she read it and she recognized that this was the one that really captured who I am at the heart of it. My mom is brutally honest. If something's not working, she's gonna tell me straight up, and I value that. Sure, sometimes the truth hurts, but you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta kill your darlings, move on, put that ego away, and just get back to the drawing board. Now you can have other people read it, such as your closest mentors, teachers, and sometimes your closest friends even, but I would warn against showing it to too many people because then you'll have so many voices floating around in your head, you might not be able to discern which one is yours and follow your instinct because at the end of the day, this is your essay. Takeaway number 4, drafts. Lots of them. You guys, I had to go through so many drafts to get my Common App essay to its final stage. Sure, I wrote the very genesis of it maybe at the beginning of summer before senior year, but through that summer I generated like 9 or 10 drafts of this same piece. Takeaway number 5. Accessible language. Now, you don't have to be Shakespeare to get into college. Your writing should be accessible to the general public. One piece of feedback that I received from all around the world is that they liked my essay because it was easy to read, easy to understand. There were no super big vocab words, all my sentences were pretty clean cut, clear. I think writing simply is really the key to it all because it just allows the reader a more direct channel to you from writing from your heart. But takeaway number 6, every word counts. Just because I wrote simply doesn't mean that I didn't agonize over every single word, because at the end of the day, you have a limited amount of words, so you want to make every single word count. Yes, when you're in the process of writing your very first draft or your first few drafts, don't over-edit yourself because that'll stem your creativity. But once you get into editing mode, you really want to examine the function of every sentence in every paragraph. Takeaway number 7, elements of a good story. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, we all have our favorite stories, we all have our favorite books, our favorite TV shows, our favorite movies. And especially in writing, you can identify certain elements that you know make a good story. That could be very descriptive imagery, or an inner monologue that's very captivating, or dialogue that just pops. For me, one of my favorite elements is the full circle. So if you notice in the beginning of my essay, I talk about the house, building a home. It's kind of messed up with the words, but then at the end, I bring it back to a full circle by sort of landing it in an unexpected place. I switch the words, I create imagery that is unexpected, but still rings true to what the essay is because I'm coming full circle. I would encourage you to identify what makes a story sing for you and sort of practice and use that in your writing too. Takeaway number 8, values. Does this essay reflect who you are? When I'm editing, I want to make sure every sentence serves a purpose, but a purpose of what? Well, your values capture who you are and how you see the world. I asked myself what values I wanted this essay to illustrate, and looking back, I can see values of strength, perseverance, creativity, representation, compassion, kindness. It was also really important to me that this piece tied together who I am as a person, as a whole. What I mean by that is, if you look at my many different extracurriculars, I'm very much into journalism and poetry and playwriting and leadership in school and community service. It's all a little bit scattered, but what this essay did was explain why I do everything that I do. It's because I love storytelling. I believe in the power of storytelling to help change communities and shine light on the underrepresented. My Common App essay captures my mojo, and it describes what drives me to do what I do every day. And quite honestly, it still does capture very much to this day, 3 years later, why I do what I do. Hopefully your essay is something that you are proud of because you have figured out a little bit of who you are and you've put that on paper. Bonus, I don't know which takeaway this fits under, but I just thought of the incorporation of my mom into my Common App essay. It's always a little bit difficult to balance an essay when you bring in another character, and that character is like an integral part of your essay. For example, if you're writing an essay about how your grandma really inspired your love for cooking and gardening and shapes the way you see the world in terms of like kindness and compassion, like that's good. You want to focus on how that shaped you, because if you focus too much on grandma, like the colleges are not accepting grandma, they're accepting you. So that's something that I had to go back and edit and try to balance out, is how much my mom is a central figure of this essay. Okay, it's time for supplements. So I wrote this in the summer before senior year. It took me about 3-4 months to go through all of the college supplements. So I used some version of this particular supplement with this particular metaphor in my applications for Harvard, Columbia, Princeton, and the UC school system. Here goes. I have not seen this essay for a very long time, so let's see how this will go. And after this, I will check out how closely this essay adhered to my list of takeaways in terms of my process and the end result. Now that I think about it, this metaphor is a bit of a stretch, but stick with me. Lights up on a couch potato. Literally, I will explain. When I was 9, I wrote my first play about a boy who ate so much junk food and watched so much TV that he turned into a starchy crop stuck to his sofa. A troupe of professional traveling actors from the Imagination Machine performed my comedic skit in front of giggling elementary school students. As the audience laughed at my human-turned couch potato, I knew I was on the right path to winning a Tony Award. After all, a potato is like a play. It begins underground. The roots push through darkness, reaching for nutrients and a strong grip on the earth. I am alone in my room with the seed of an idea that consumes me. Words fill the page in a frenzy that would make Samuel French flinch. That is mouthful. Lights up on news articles and personal intimate histories collected from hours of research. I dig until I can curl my fingers around what feels like a story. Conflict, check. Biting dialogue, check. Characters I want to simultaneously hug and slap, check. Because my perspective has shifted, sprouts spring from the seed's eyes and the plant breaks the surface. I format and muster the courage to send my words into the unknown, to collaborate with artists and bring it to life. My play no longer flourishes through willpower alone. It is a team effort to take care of the seedling. The countdown to opening night begins. You want to hear the backstory I came up with for my character? It is questions like these from actors that captivate me in rehearsal. The universe is no longer only mine. Directors, actors, producers, stage managers live and breathe in a world that I build. Cue the Italian runs, unscripted curse words, and giggles in an empty theater. Yet theater without an audience is just rehearsal. Life as a potato isn't easy. There are powerful forces of nature to deal with, and the struggle to grow, to emerge stronger than before. Every meeting with an artistic team of visionaries scrapes away an unnecessary scene, or discovers another layer, or goes off on a tangent entirely. And those are the best conversations. Conversations that deeply move me when an actor shares his own experience about losing a parent, that reaffirm me in my moments of soul-crushing doubt, that validate the reason why I write, in hopes that my stories may resonate with even one person in the audience. The potato reaches maturation when it loses some of its leaves, vines changing color to something more beautiful. It is now ready to be presented to the public eye. Cue gasps, wet cheeks, and laughter from the audience, united in that moment. Everyone eats potatoes. Theater equalizes the playing field. Oh boy. Whew, I really stretched this metaphor. Where was I? Everyone eats potatoes. Theater equalizes the playing field. Just as the potato spreads across the globe, whether my plays are performed in a school's church-turned theater, a white box in New York, the Stella Adler Theater in Hollywood, or the Old Globe Theater in San Diego, we clap because we believe. After house lights go up, audience members approach me with their life stories in hand, and those are the moments I tear up and marvel at the power of words. After experiencing imagination in action, I don't think I'll be turning into a couch potato anytime soon. After all, a potato is like a play, not a playwright, and one potato can yield an entire harvest more. Okay, time to unpack this. So the first takeaway, which is don't get hung up too much on the prompt. Yeah, at the end of the day, it does answer the prompt. It is like an intellectual experience that really captivated my passion and time and energy, but I didn't set out writing this with the prompt in mind. I just wanted to find another way to express a different side of myself. So the second takeaway that I said was your first ideas are valuable, but you gotta dig deeper. So indeed, my first idea was, I wanted to write about playwriting, I knew that, but I did it in a way that was kind of boring. I was name dropping playwrights that I had read and admired, and playwrights that had mentored me, that I have had the privilege of being in workshops with, and that just seemed to rub like readers the wrong way. By readers, I mean my mom. She just said that it was kind of dry and it didn't really have the heart that my Common App essay had. So I guess that also corresponds to takeaway 3, which is you really need to find someone that you can trust because they will tell you the hard-hitting truth like that. So that brings me to takeaway 4. Yes, this went through an insane amount of drafts, of course. Takeaway 5, accessible language. Okay, let me deconstruct this a little bit because reading it back just now, I realized that it's a little bit wordy, and if I can go back, I would cut it down even more. I think I had too many run-on sentences. I was also a bit in love with the sound of my own prose, but I will make an argument for this. This piece is about theatrics, so I did want to sound a little bit dramatic, and I wanted to, keep the audience on their feet. So when I move back and forth from like short sentences to long sentences, it really, keeps them engaged, I think. It'll shake up the rhythm of the piece. So in that sense, it's theatrical and does fit in with like the theme of my overall essay. Okay, it's a pretty bold statement to say I knew I was on the right path to winning a Tony Award. Yeah, I know, that's like so presumptuous of me to say that, but I wanted to capture their attention and let them know that they are admitting a potential Tony Award winner in the future. I don't know, it's in the cards. I don't know. Am I going to go down that path? I very much would like to, but these things are very much out of my control. But I think what matters here is the gumption and the courage it takes to write a statement like that, because like that's bold and very theatrical and something like, I don't know, a theater kid would say. So I think it fit in with the overall like essay character of it and the personality of this piece in particular. So it kind of balances out my Common App essay now that you think about it, because one of the values of my Common App is, I think, humility, and then this one sort of levels the playing field, which is me, the applicant. There are certain phrases that if you are not acquainted with the theater world will fly over your head, like references like you don't know who Samuel French is, or you don't know what an Italian run is. Like those things will just like fly over your head, but I was counting on my readers being smart enough to fill in those gaps, even if they weren't, theater majors or whatever, or never did theater in their lives. They could still understand that that is something specific to my field. Takeaway number 6, well, I think I would trim it if I could go back and like cut it. I think I was a lot more rigorous with my Common App essay, and that one's like very, very clean and very smooth. I think I could have done more work with this supplement, but in the end, I'm still proud of it. I think that every word does count towards something. Takeaway number 7, a very, very extended metaphor. Yeah, I really took this metaphor and ran with it, ran it dry, I would say. I love a good metaphor. I leaned into it because I thought it was hilarious and visually grabbing and unforgettable, and I think I was right. And yeah, I also used another full circle. Shocker, surprise. Takeaway 8, yeah, values. So I think that's one of the most important parts. The values that I see in this essay are creativity, passion, perseverance, growth, collaboration. At the end of the day, I think I'm really proud of it. It captures a kernel of who I was in that moment, even reading it like 3 years later. So finally, we come to the 4th part, which is resources. So I didn't sign up for any outside help or agencies or had a writing tutor, but that is definitely a resource you can use. For the past couple of summers, I have tutored high school students and helped them edit their essays, and I think it honestly really is helpful for someone kind of like a stranger almost to come in and see things that you can't necessarily see yourself. But the alternative, which is what I went with, are essay writing books. So here's some that I read and I found incredibly helpful. I think one of the best pieces of advice that Ethan Sawyer writes is don't boast, whine, or plead. And I think that's like a really good rule for life in general, but especially on your college app. Harry Bart's book was actually one of the ones that I really consulted, but take it with a grain of salt. But it's so helpful. It has some amazing essays in there that are just timeless. Like, they could have been written now and I wouldn't know the difference. That's how good they are. And it really changes the way you think as a writer, because I feel like when we talk about college application essays, we are conditioned to think about one type of essay or one particular genre or writing format, but really, like, the possibilities are endless, and this book will help you see that. So highly recommend. He breaks down good essays, he breaks down bad essays, which is equally as important. Best of luck on your writing journey. Don't worry, this is not my last video about writing. There is so much more to say on this topic, I know, but I'm out of breath now, and I want you to leave your comments, your questions in the comments below so I know what to talk about for my next video. I want to know what's helpful for you guys. I'm sending you my prayers, my thoughts, light, joy. Remember, take care of yourself through this essay writing process, and I hope you discover something awesome about yourself. Cheers.